Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast. The first of the new year. 2022 is here. That's ridiculous and still really hasn't set in, but we are back again. I am joined alongside Mr. Sin for the Win and Mr. Endo Mills. We are here on a Tuesday, as we will be for the foreseeable future. Moving forward, it'll be Tuesdays and Fridays once again. Thanks to Sin and I's commitment with, of course, NHL Gamer. We talked about that in the last episode. The season got pushed back a week, so that'll be starting the 10th, I do believe, the 10th. So it's going to be a very busy time for everyone involved here. Sin and I doing commentary. I'm flooding Endo with anything work. 2022, we're all on the grind. We're getting after it. We are here to talk about some hockey. Imagine that. There's some hockey to talk about instead of everything being doom and gloom over the holiday season, unfortunately, pretty much when talking about the world of hockey. So, hey, that'll be a lot of fun. We will get right down to business, but of course, as always, have to mention this podcast is still brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. You can still use code Tougie at checkout for 20% off your order and free worldwide shipping to get the best tools for the job when it comes to taking care of business. Again, from your head to your feet, if you need something done, you need some work done, Manscaped is the place to be. Endo just thought of something, and he's trying to hold back.
From your head to your feet, and between your Schmeat, Manscaped. There you go.
What? Between your what?
Between your Schmeat.
What the Oh, meat. I thought Schmeat was some kind of new word.
You don't want to have any sweaty balls, so you got to use
TikTok
Manscaped to make
kids
sure
were
it's
using.
clean.
Can I get away with having Schmeat as the episode title?
Yeah, probably.
We're going to try.
I was going to say 2022, but,
Ooh,
That's pretty good.
Interesting.
Or 2022 TOO.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, hey, we always end up with a couple of different options for episode titles. We'll see what more we come up with as we go along. Manscaped. Code Tougie. 20% off your order. Free worldwide shipping. Check them out if you haven't already. And again, a big thank you to Manscaped for sticking with us here heading in to the new year.
Can't imagine.
They're beautiful. Huh?
I was just going to say, can't imagine why they wouldn't stick with us. That's a brilliant ad read.
yeah.
So as mentioned, again, we have some hockey stuff to talk about, but we mentioned at the end of the last show, we had to kind of dive into a lot of football talk. We had to dive into talking about the holidays and our goals for 2022 because we wanted to kind of leave a lot of that negativity of last year behind and get back to more of a middle ground. I think in terms of what the sport of hockey has been, how it's been affected by outside influences. You always try to find that middle ground between, okay, you don't want to be too doom and gloom, but let's be honest, you can't really be fully positive all the time when we've had a lot of the stories that we've had in the hockey world in the past 3 to 4 months that would almost come off as disingenuous in some ways. But we want to start off today's show with what I'm calling the good news category, because there were actually some good stories in the past couple of days. Now, Endo found a way to bring up a little bit of a negative spin to this first one, but
Yeah.
the ECHL's Atlanta Gladiators have signed, and I believe Endo pronounced it Makayev. He is the first survivor of the Humboldt Broncos bus accident to sign a professional contract, which is just awesome.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of starting off good years, like, we just passed, what? Was it been 4 years since that happened, if not slightly longer? Like, it's insane to think about how long it's been since that happened. And honestly, it's just great news, right? Because out of that incident, you almost expected nobody to be able to go on and still play professional hockey. Now, as Endo has mentioned, and actually I'm looking, it's been 3 years. It feels like, I'm not surprised it's been 3 years. Let's be honest. Something that happened 3 years ago was bound to feel like it happened 4 or 5 years ago with how things have gone. But Endo did want to bring something up in relation to this type of signing, because it might not be the last time we see a signing like this.
Yes. So a current situation right now going on in the he played recently with in OUA, which is the Ontario University's Association for Athletics, and there's a certain situation happening at the moment in regards to closures because of, I hate to say it, COVID. And he's one of the first players to jump ship from the OUA to go play in the ECHL to continue his season. The reason why I say this he's one of the first is because they're shutting down stuff. Apparently Ontario government hasn't deemed that the highest level of play for university athletes isn't deemed elite athletics. Meanwhile, you have like the OHL going through, and some major junior leagues are also shut down as well. I know the OJHL is shut down, and like I don't want to talk about the doom and gloom, but this is definitely not going to be the first guy we see sign over and play professional hockey. I believe this also voids his possibility of returning back to U Sports, because I believe once you're paid a salary, you can't go back, similar to the NCAA. But good for him. Great way to find a certain light at the end of the tunnel with the season looking kind of way it is. Possibly a trailblazer in that league for sure.
On top of that, there was the story from this past weekend of Canucks equipment manager Red Hamilton. There was a fan by the name of Nadia, I believe it's Popovici. She was sitting behind the bench, I believe, and spotted a mole on his neck that was found to be early stage, cancerous. And because she spotted this, he's going to be okay. It's not going to develop into a further situation. And I want to give full credit to the Kraken and the Canucks here, because the Canucks were able to get her, or I guess she was already there to begin with, but they're essentially giving her $10,000 towards her medical school funding. This is the type of story that we needed in 2022.
Yes.
Like, just someone being like, I'm a medical student. You need to get that checked out. And then the teams and everybody embracing that and just being like, oh my God, you're a hero. And just more of this, please.
And that person listening to medical advice too. Fucking amazing.
There we go.
You can try to avoid it, but at the end of the day, it always circles back. But oh man, yeah, this was just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not too much to hammer on that point of, but just to have a story like that so early on, and again to see the teams do right by her and give her good opportunities, and I mean obviously to send money her way as well is awesome as well. And then there was another story that I wanted to bring up too that honestly, like, we'll put it this way. So, and correct me if I'm wrong here on the pronunciation, but Brigitte Laquette, very French name, and I'm apologizing. She is a silver medalist for the Canadian women's Olympic hockey team. She has been hired as a scout by the Chicago Blackhawks, and in doing so has become the first Indigenous woman to scout for an NHL team, which is also awesome. Obviously, though, and we knew this, right? Like, whenever a team like Chicago or Montreal does something, we sit there and say, is there more to this than just hiring someone who's best for the job, especially when you talk about what Chicago and Montreal and the controversies they've undergone in the past year. But there was a comment. It was actually the top comment on Reddit, and I completely agree with this. Like, there is a way to not essentially give the Blackhawks positive recognition, but at the same time, you don't want to minimize her accomplishment and what she'll bring to the team, because it's not like they just went like her, like she was an Olympian. She is more than likely very well suited and qualified for the job. Yeah. So I think it's just the way people handle things. But, hey, one of the rare occasions in the past couple months, we've been able to say, good job, Chicago.
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say. It's not necessarily Chicago giving her the job. She fucking earned that job. That's how I look at it. It's... who cares what Chicago's motivations are behind it? They're getting probably a very talented hockey mind and whatever. She earned that, and some of the people saying while you may be trying to come from a correct place by saying, oh, Chicago's just doing this, you're essentially echoing some of the sentiments that surround women in hockey right now. Is that they only get something because of people trying to hit some kind of quota or whatever. Like, she's very clearly qualified. Chicago may have whatever motivations, but they made an absolutely great decision by hiring, a great person for that role. So, yeah, in my opinion, that's how to look at it. She earned that job.
Think you nailed it. So, again, wanted to start off the show with a couple of more positive topics to discuss today because obviously we've all had enough negativity in the past couple of years. Now, we haven't done a show since last Wednesday. We don't want to sit here and cover 6 days worth of games, especially when half of them weren't even played. But a couple of things that have happened here in the past week, and then heading into our second show of the week, we'll get back into kind of talking about the day by day. I do want to note off the top of this segment, I guess, that normally, first show of the month, we end up talking about our updated awards predictions. I elected to have us not do that because it's kind of difficult right now, obviously due to all the postponements. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about a team, and I was going to mention it later. We can mention it now. You talk about a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who beat Ottawa 6-0 on Saturday. They had 2.5 weeks off. It's kind of tough to compare Toronto to maybe a team that did not stop playing towards the middle or end of December and talking about where exactly people are in terms of that particular race. Endo, since I brought it up, any thoughts from that game on Saturday, if you were able to catch it?
Ilia Makayev is an absolute legend. I'm glad that he's back.
I missed this, but what happened? Because out of nowhere, it went from like when Makayev debuted, and it's, oh my God, he's the best. He's so fast, and it's great. And then like all that hype died after he got hurt and came back, and it was never the same. And now all of a sudden after this weekend, it's like the hype is as big as it's ever been. What the hell happened?
I think what happened is Maple Leafs fans forgot how good of a talent he was, and how much of a steal it was to grab him for what was league minimum at the time. And when he's healthy, he's great. He's an absolute stud player. But the thing is, when he's healthy, because he had the wrist injury, then he had injury again. I think he tried to rush himself back, so it wasn't at the same level. And I think having extra time to heal and get ready and be basically fully ready to go basically helped him out in the long run. Basically, keep saying basically a lot, but honestly, that's how it was. He had more time to heal. That's the thing that you said too. They had like 2 weeks off because of COVID and games were scheduled. They were able to bounce back and basically hop on a team that's clearly not at their level anymore.
Want to talk a little bit about the New Jersey Devils. First and foremost, one of the negative aspects. Shout out to PK Subban, who attempted to slew foot Garnet Hathaway. How many times this season alone have we mentioned PK Subban and slew footing?
This is 5 or 6 at least.
He's trying to get the punch card.
The problem is, and I agree with this take that people had in response on certain threads, the consensus most people come up with is, oh, well, he won't be punished until he seriously hurts somebody. He already injured Sammy Blais this year.
Yeah, his whole year's over. Sammy Blais' his season's over because of that.
He hurt crazy. Ryan Reeves, and everyone thought that he was going to be done for the year, but he's fine now. But still, what's it going to take? I don't know what's going to take. He's clearly profiting off of Perot and the DOPS, just not doing anything for him. They're going to have an in-person hearing, give him like a pat on the back, be like, good job, you're making me proud. Like, what more do you want? I have no idea.
I've talked about it on the show. I like PK Subban a lot, but it is very obvious. This is a 32-year-old player with an injury history who does not have the same motor and mobility that he used to. Mm-hmm. He does have 13 points in 30 games played so far this year, but he's going to hurt somebody again. I mean, again, I can't help but say it. Like, PK Subban doesn't have the reputation for being an overly dirty player, I'd say, up until this year. I mean, there were some moments maybe. If this was Brad Marchand, do you think this would have been snuffed out already? That there would have been a suspension already?
Oh, yeah.
Tom Wilson?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I don't understand the lack of action here. And PK has only 16 penalty minutes in 30 games so far this year.
And here's the thing that bugs me about situations like this. It's like, yeah, they don't have the reputation. Here's the thing. They would have the reputation if you called it once.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, they have a history. That's happened so many times. I've seen so many, in my opinion, those dirty kind of players getting punished for something, but because they haven't been punished before, they don't have a history. It's like the definition of history is so friggin' subjective. And that whole Tim Peel thing of like, oh, Subban's such a great guy. It's just a bad habit that slipped into his game. This is a dangerous habit. And yeah, at this point, it does look like second nature to him. He does it constantly. That's not an excuse. You know, this is it's dangerous as hell. He ended someone's season. It has to be addressed, and I don't know how they're going to do it, but it has to be addressed, and it not before he hurts someone else because it's dangerous.
Yeah, I think it leads to the conversation. Sorry to cut you off, Endo, but in a way, it kind of leads into this. A lot of Leafs fans, shout out to Steve Dangle Podcast, have mentioned in the past people like, oh, like Charlie McAvoy is kind of sneaky dirty, and Bruins fans will be like, what the hell are you talking about? There's no history. To Sin's point, certain things were called, maybe there'd be a little bit more of an on-paper track record for someone like a PK Subban.
Like Jumbo.
So it just leads...
Jumbo sneaky dirty. And I know a lot of people don't view him as that, and I hate to say it because it's funny the way he does it. It's still sneaky dirty. Like, people will slash him and he'll kind of just jut his stick up right in between their legs very subtly. Like, that's still, like, old school, but it's still dirty, man. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So it just leads into that whole conversation about officiating, which, God, we've had plenty of times. And we're going to continue to have because PK Subban will apparently keep getting away with this.
Yeah. I'm going to say, not to interrupt, but like anything that a guy who openly went on a hot mic and said, like, oh, he's going to, like, basically, like, and I'm not going to trust Tim Peel and take what his word for granted after getting caught on the hot mic with all that situation, what he said. I mean, realistically.
I'm sure Tim Peel would love to have PK Subban come over for Thanksgiving dinner with the family.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to have. I would love. Who wouldn't
PK
hang out?
Sounds like a dope dude. Yeah.
Oh
if
yeah.
you had the option to just be like, "Hey, PK Subban wants to hang out with you," I'm out.
I'm gone. Go. I'm gone. He's my family now. He's my uncle. PK is the one uncle. PK is the one uncle. Like in everyone's family, who's just kind of weird. Like, have you seen his like
always
Instagram
down
stories
for fun,
and everything?
Probably never ever has kids of his own, but he gets to borrow all of his siblings' kids and then give them back, and that's the best. That's the best uncle. I had one like that.
Much. Yeah. Pretty much, honestly.
For the New Jersey Devils as well, though, we have a couple of interesting talking points aside from PK Subban's on-ice tendencies that have just slipped into his game. The Devils, as of late, we talked about Jack Hughes when he was first injured and maybe some of the concerns there. Jack Hughes has been fantastic this season, is the best way to put it. I'm trying to bring up his most recent games, and let's see. In his last 3 games, actually, because there was a bit of a break. December 18th, they played Detroit, no points. December 19th, they played Pittsburgh, no points. Then you jump all the way to December 29th. And post-Christmas Jack Hughes is legit. 3 points against Buffalo, 3 points against Edmonton, 2 points against the Washington Capitals in his last 3 games. He's a point-per-game player on the season right now, 16 in 16. So that side of things for the Devils is looking great. And then you get the news of Dougie Hamilton's injury. Now, he's not the only guy injured. Apparently, Jonathan Bernier has a hip injury. He's going to be out for the rest of the season. Dougie Hamilton has a broken jaw. I believe he is going to have surgery on it this week and is out indefinitely. The Devils right now are at 33 games played and have 31 points. The Bruins are in the second wildcard spot on 34 points. Oh, not that bad. They're only 3 points back. The Bruins have 5 games at hand. And they actually play tonight, Tuesday night, as of the time of recording here. It just makes you wonder how much bad luck the Devils could possibly suffer from and still potentially make the playoffs. I think we had that conversation at the start of the year, like, man, the addition of Dougie Hamilton, and if certain players keep developing, good things could happen. But for as nice as it is to see someone like Jack Hughes doing as well as he is, it's just, there's a lot of hits. And a lot of teams are kind of undergoing stuff like this, where it's just that bad luck. It just seems to be one hit after another. I'd be a little bit worried if I was a Devils fan about this season. I was looking at their stat line here. Do you guys care to guess what Mackenzie Blackwood's save percentage is on the season?
Is it good or is it bad?
Not good.
Really?
He has played 19 games.
I'm gonna say
he has
like
a
890.
830.
He has a 3.22 goals against average with an 897 save percentage.
Okay, never mind.
Now, this is a goalie who was viewed as certainly on the rise. I mean, the funny thing is, like, his stats don't necessarily line up to his reputation. I mean, he had a 918 and 1819. Pretty damn good, 23 games. 915 the next year. But then last year he had a 902, and now this year he has an 897. This was a guy that a lot of people were talking like, oh, well, maybe he's the starter for Canada over Carey Price. We obviously know the NHL players aren't going to the Olympics, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, just I don't know.
Goalies.
I'm intrigued to see what happens with New Jersey. I
don't ever try to figure out why goalies do things that they do, whether it's how they regress or progress or what good years they have and bad years. It's insane, and it's so hard to judge. I feel like not even analytics have really been able to pinpoint why goalies are goaling. I mean, look at all the analytics community trying right now to desperately save face and figure out why their predictions about Seattle were so awful. And they're like goaltending, but then they still don't have good models to take that sort of goaltending into account. So yeah, goalies are just the ultimate enigma in hockey.
Yeah, as a goalie, I can agree.
Yeah, goalies are voodoo, as they say.
Yeah, there are
voodoo,
games
voodoo.
There are games honestly when I play, if my skates are too loose or my skates are too tight, it messes up my whole equilibrium of how I'm playing on the ice. If my pads are too loose,
think about it the whole time, eh?
And my pads are too loose, and it'll be oh, it's too tight, and I adjust it mid play or whatever when the puck's on the other end, and then maybe my helmet's on, maybe because I have long hair, it pushes on my helmet too much. Maybe that's causing a little bit of a tightness in my head. The one thing that I hate though is when my chest protector is too tight. I feel claustrophobic and I can't move on the ice.
Yeah,
it is.
No wonder goalies are fucking
voodoo.
Weird.
Yeah, and there's times when when I have my stick, I have limited. It feels like I have limited movement. But the minute I drop, I drop my stick or my stick's out of my hand, I'm flying around like fucking Dominic Hasek. It's ridiculous. You never know what it is that would just change your game completely, and it's one of the weirdest positions to play because it's so dependent on just the one guy.
I played goalie twice in my high school career for filling in for our natural goalie had type 1 diabetes, so a couple times he couldn't play due to that. So first game I played, I had 25 shots against and allowed 4 goals, which is good in roller hockey. I mean, that's an over 80-85 save percentage, which was good for high school. And then we got the next game we played. We did play a team a division higher than us, to be fair. But yeah, the next time I played goal, we got mercied 9-1. And I was allowed those 9 goals off 20 shots. I was just.
I mean, roller hockey games are usually high scoring anyway because of the way it is and the way it's played.
That's why I was proud to only allow 4 in my literal first goalie game.
Yeah, that's commendable.
Then I got fucking lit up the next one, and I felt like shit. It was the first shot went in too, and that was the worst. After that, I was just out. I was gone. So yeah, I don't know how goalies do that on a consistent basis. Because I can't handle it mentally. I already know that.
Yeah.
In terms of some of the other games that happened over this past week or so, did you guys catch the Hurricanes Blue Jackets game on Saturday? Where Carolina...
Oh, yes, I did. I saw the highlights.
Carolina was down 4-0 midway through the second period. Columbus in the driver's seat. The final score of the game was 7-4 Carolina. They scored 7.
There's been some weird comeback
goals.
games, bizarre comeback games recently. That's a theme. Why does this NHL season seem to have a theme? The beginning of the season theme. All these teams that aren't supposed to be doing good are doing good. All these players who come out of nowhere are doing good. And now it's we've hit the point in the season where it's all right, it's time for ridiculous and stupid comebacks all over the ice. I mean, yeah, the Sharks came back from down 6-1 or 6-2 and almost tied it. So it's nuts.
Yeah, so,
but yeah, that Columbus, lol.
I mean, there was the moment, too, where I forget who was in goal for Columbus, but he tried to handle the puck and ran into his own defender, and it was just an absolute calamity for them. Yeah. And you mentioned the Sharks game, and how about that Sharks-Penguins game on Sunday? I saw you live tweeting some of it.
Yeah.
That was entertaining.
I haven't been live tweeting, but that game needed me to live tweet, or my psyche needed me to live tweet.
The Penguins win 8-5. Both Evan Rodriguez and Brian Rust recorded hat tricks. If you ever wanted a chance one more time to just vent about this game, the floor is yours.
Well, first things first, man. When you hear 2 Penguins got hat tricks, who do you think of? Clearly not Evan Rodriguez and Brian fucking Rust, but here we are. I think there were two or maybe no. There's only one of them was an empty netter. The other one was a power play goal, which at that point might as well have been an empty netter because Sharks defense was atrocious. Yeah, it was a stupid game. I woke up early for it and like watched part of the first period. I'm like, this is bullshit. I go back to sleep. Wake up, I still got the game on in the background, and then the Sharks start scoring. I'm like, oh, that was kind of neat. And I score again. I'm like, all right. You guys did it. I'm back invested. They get within one, and I'm like, no, I don't like this because I know you're gonna let me the fuck down. Carlson gets dragged down. No call. 2 minutes later, Matt Nieto makes the stupidest hook of his life and gets called for it. I'm not going to blame the officiating because when you get beat 8-5, there's no goddamn excuse besides your defense. But I will just kind of reiterate what we all want, just consistency in calls. I'm not saying you shouldn't call that Nieto one. I'm saying call that one on Carlson too, because he literally got like yanked down as he was trying to pinch and like play the puck, and it led to a rush the other way as, you know, Sharks were trying to tie it. So again, who's to say they would have tied it? Doesn't matter either way. Show up for a game. That's it, Sharks. You guys are pretenders.
I was about to say, because we haven't, I mean, for Endo, obviously, like, hey, we know where he stands with the Leafs. You know, they're in third place in the Atlantic right now. Not a single Leafs fan cares about the regular season. It's about finding that bit of playoff success. So we know where the hell Endo is.
That's right.
For you, Sin, the Sharks right now currently stand at 35 points in 33 games. They are only 3 points behind Edmonton for the second wild card spot. But judging by your attitude, it's like, okay, I'm guessing this is your thought. It would be nice if the Sharks would make it, but you're not expecting them to at this point.
Absolutely not. And I honestly, they're doing exactly what I feared they would at the beginning of the year. They're going to be that bubble team who's going to get close and get a crappy draft pick and not make the playoffs, which is against the two things that they need right now. They either need to make a playoff and make the playoffs, do a miracle run, or get a good draft pick. So we're basically leaving it up to chance and bad percentages to really get what we want this season, which really does suck. But hey, we still got Eklund, and he's still developing and looking good, and still excited about that. And some of our other young guns do look good. It's just we need another one of those big draft picks, and probably won't come this year. I doubt it'll come with Bedard because the Sharks have to keep pushing to be competitive with where they are. Who knows? If we trade Hurdle, we got no one to replace that level of talent. We might just tank the next year. Who knows? That's the next thing that we're waiting for. I'm waiting for. What is going to happen with Tomas Hurdle? Because that's the climax of the Sharks' last couple of years. Is this moment? Like, what's going to happen? Yeah. What direction do the Sharks take?
So I believe they're 20th right now out of 32 in terms of point percentage. So they're literally in that middle ground of. You're not going to be able to out-tank Arizona, Montreal, Ottawa, Seattle, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. But you also cannot guarantee yourself a playoff spot, given, you know, where the middle ground is right now. And specifically, if we look only at the Western Conference in terms of point percentage, like, they're very close to where Vancouver is. They're a little bit behind Dallas. LA is in that mix, so... Yeah, it's like you're stuck in limbo, right? Like, both of you, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, Endo's just like, okay, screw the regular season, just get to the playoffs. And you're like, I don't know where my team's going.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like you mentioned all those teams. I think the only team we might have a better chance than in that group is Vancouver. And at the same time, I still feel like Vancouver's roster has more raw talent. So, I mean, maybe, I don't know. At the same time, maybe it's close. I think maybe it's a tie, but I mean, you got Hughes, Pedersen, Besser, though, to be fair, some of those guys are severely underperforming, but I mean, we're not going to, you're really going to rely on surpassing Edmonton for that second wild card spot. It's McDavid and Draisaitl are going to heat up again and carry the team on their back. It's just going to happen. Like, simple as that. And the Sharks are just going to continue to flounder, I think.
I mean, we debated talking about Edmonton today because, again, you know, they are like 3-8-2 since December 1st.
Rough.
There's Elliot Friedman said that they're debating making changes, but we can't really talk about Edmonton until something actually happens. Yeah. They're also in that state of limbo. But yeah, I mean, if you were to bet Edmonton or San Jose, who's going to make it, you're going to bet on Connor McDavid and Draisaitl.
You don't even bet on Edmonton. I'm betting on Connor McDavid.
Yeah, exactly. And then for the Bruins as well, to talk about them really quickly. They won back-to-back games. They beat the Sabres in overtime on Saturday and then beat the Red Wings 5-1 on Sunday. The Red Wings win was nice because they actually got some depth scoring. Erik Haula, Trent Frederick, Tomas Nosek, so that's nice. The problem is, though, for the Bruins, and I've had people ask me, like, oh, hey, do you think the Bruins are going to make the playoffs? And in a way, I'm kind of in that same spot because I'm sorry, but the Bruins likely aren't making top 3 in the Atlantic. I think that opportunity has already passed them by. The top 3 in the Atlantic right now, Tampa, 47 points in 34 games. Florida, 46 points in 32 games. Jesus. So Florida on a better point percentage. And then Toronto has a better point percentage than Tampa as well. They're on 44 points in 31 games. All three, well, okay, Florida and Toronto over a 700, or a 0.7 point percentage. Tampa's at a .691. The Bruins are at a .607. Like, the Bruins are absolutely, unless they go on a massive run and those other 3 teams, or at least one of them really starts to slip up, despite the Bruins having a minimum of 3 games at hand, they've actually played 6 fewer games than Tampa already. So they're not totally boned. But it almost feels like the Bruins are going to be in that wild card battle. And that means you're in a wild card battle with the likes of Pittsburgh. That scares me a little bit. Detroit. I mean, they beat Detroit 5-1, but Detroit's still a little bit scary. They're a lot more scary than we thought. Philadelphia, if they could fucking get it together. Like, again, like, you look at the talent on that roster, it's like, what is the matter with the Flyers? New Jersey, with the injury troubles we just talked about. Columbus is still kind of in the mix. Maybe the Islanders start to figure it out and pressure. Like, I find it interesting. Like, all 3 of us right now, it's almost as if the regular season isn't as enjoyable as it should be. Mm-hmm. Endo should be having the most fun. Yeah. Toronto's making the goddamn playoffs, but that doesn't matter. Making the playoffs means fucking nothing to Leafs fans at this point. It's what you do once you're there. Sin's stuck in limbo of, honestly, kind of worst case scenario. It's like, you right now, with how good this draft is, would you not prefer to either just know that you're not getting one of the good picks or have a better chance of getting one of the top picks in the draft instead of just maybe 10 through 15 come 10, lottery time?
I want top 10. It has to be top 10. And that, again, with the way the Sharks are trending, that's going to be based on luck. They're not going to be kind of in the situation to guarantee themselves a top 10 pick. I mean, we struck gold with Eklund at 7. That's probably not going to happen again, and surely not going to happen again, more than likely outside of the top 10. I mean, it is still a good draft class, but again, it becomes more like the kind of difference maker you need to be a top line guy. Generally, you don't have a great chance of that to happen from 10 to 15 beyond, it's...
And then for me as a Bruins fan, it's like, okay, they should be making the playoffs. There's a chance they might not. But even if they do make the playoffs, I'm not 100% confident right now. David Pastrnak was demoted to okay, so here are the Bruins lines as of 5 hours ago, according to Cap Friendly. Marchand, Bergeron, Craig Smith. No, David Pasternak's not hurt. He's just not on the top line right now. Marchand has 30 points in 23 games. Bergeron's at 24 and 27. Craig Smith, while I like Craig Smith and what he brings, he only has 9 points in 21 games.
Oof.
He's not crushing it. Second line, Taylor Hall, 16 points in 28 games. It's not bad. You're also making $6 million.
Yeah, it's also Taylor Hall. It's supposed to be,
Erik Haula is the current second line center, 6 points in 27 games.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
And David Pastrnak has 21 points in 28 games, only 8 goals on the year. And unfair or not, the conversation with David Pastrnak within the Bruins fan base is what happened in his personal life over the summer. It's so uncomfortable to even say he had his infant son pass away. Like, it's awful. It's horrible. And I don't even know how many people know that. A lot of people might just think like, oh, he's struggling. But dude, he went through one of the worst things that can possibly happen to a human in their life. I personally am not going to sit here and chastise David Pastrnak for underperforming. If it's your job in sports media to do that, by all means, you have fun. But that's just what's tough, right? Is because David Pastrnak only having 8 goals in 28 games, something's going on physically, mentally, whatever, or it's just really bad luck. But it's also a big part of the reason as to why the Bruins' top 3 hopes in their division is kind of shot already. And then you look at their depth scoring. 5 points for Nick Foligno, $3.8 million, 5 points in 20 games. Charlie Coyle has 16 and 28. He's bounced back pretty well. Oscar Steen, that's a name everybody knows.
Oh my God.
23-year-old rookie, 3 points in 4 games. Let's go. The Bruins' great hope there. And then fourth line Frederick, 4 points in 20 games. Scored his first goal, as I mentioned. That is a former first-round pick in Trent Frederick.
He was?
29th overall in 2016, Trent Frederick.
29th isn't horrible, but still, I don't think he's ever really getting out of the bottom 6 or even fourth line. He's like a fourth liner, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like Sam Steele went after him, which isn't that bad. Tyler Benson, other guys who are kind of in limbo. But like Rasmus Asplund for Buffalo's not bad. Who went 6 picks, I believe, or 7 or 8 actually after? Jordan Kyrou of the St. Louis Blues. That would have been nice.
Which draft was this?
2016. Trent Frederick went 29th. You know who went 39th? Alex DeBrincat.
Oof. Yeah.
Which everybody missed on, but
he's
still.
Short, Tougie. He's short, Tougie, and he doesn't hit.
Jonathan
he
Dahlen
doesn't play
was
Bruins
40
hockey.
seconds. Carter Hart was 48th, for fuck's sake. Take a goalie. I don't like... God damn it. We could get into that. Hey, let's talk more about how the Bruins have fucked up a lot of drafts. Haven't done that enough lately. I did a solo episode on that recently. Go check it out if you haven't. Point being, I'm worried about the Bruins. Yeah, I think we're all not interested about the Bruins have had great goaltending at least. You know what's funny is all the talk of Tuukka Rask coming back. Linus Hallmark has a 9.19 in 13 games, and Jeremy Swayman has a 9.20 in 15. The Bruins have had great goaltending, and then Tuukka Rask is going to come back? The problem is, goaltending's not the issue right now. So I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But
Taxi Squad?
I'm intrigued to finding out.
Taxi Squad Tuukka Rask? What is going to happen? He doesn't have a contract, does he?
No, not official yet.
No.
But
they haven't signed him.
He was in E-Bug that one time. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Wait, he was in E-Bug?
Yeah.
For one game, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. I like that.
And the final game that we wanted to talk about here before we get into pretty much our 2 bigger conversations, the Winter Classic itself took place on the coldest game in NHL history, I believe it was. In terms of the game itself, the Blues won 6-4. It was a fairly one-sided game. The Wild kind of started to fight back. It was more one-sided than the score shows. St. Louis scored 5 goals in the second period alone. The game itself, though, I'm always entertained by the Winter Classic. Endo and I just put out a video on the main YouTube channel talking about and ranking the previous Winter Classics. I implore you to check that out if you haven't already. Endo knocked it out of the park with the editing on that one.
Yeah, first time in 6 months working on a video for you. Hopefully it's not another 6 months.
It better not be.
It won't, trust me.
Oh God! But in terms of I don't know if you guys caught the game, but the atmosphere of the game, the scenes of it, I thought were great. Target Field's I am someone who I'm not the biggest baseball fan in the world. I like baseball. It's not my number one. Once upon a time, it was close probably to being my number one. But I am someone who wants to do the tour of all the baseball arenas or stadiums. And I want to go to Target Field in Minnesota. It looks like it's awesome. And even just from the way they had the players skate on an ice ramp.
That was awesome. That was amazing. I didn't even watch the game. I saw that and I'm like, yeah, I've seen enough. It was so good.
That's something that they hardly ever get wrong with the Winter Classic is the atmosphere and the making it feel like a big deal and a big event. It's just a shame that so often the home team fucking blows it and loses.
Yeah.
I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah, like you'd think they'd have like an advantage because like it's like their atmosphere, they're used to it. But Nos, they just came out of there just like, you know what, this is ours now.
Yeah. So I mean, again, I loved the atmosphere of it. For the Minnesota Wild, though, kind of an underrated story. They've lost 5 games in a row. They put Victor Rask on waivers today, which is probably a smart move. Reminder, he was once traded 1-for-1 for Nino Niederreiter, which, boy, let's look at those stat lines really quick. And as well, they have also called up Matthew Boldy, former first-round pick, and Marco Rossi. And at the very least, the word is they're not expected to be like long-term call-ups unless they really make a difference. But I'm excited, especially for Marco Rossi. I mean, again, you're talking about a guy who lost what could have been his entire rookie season due to, struggles after having COVID. Yeah. So I'm excited to see what he can do. But we'll shout out Nino Niederreiter, who has 17 points in 25 games this season for Carolina. Whereas Victor Rask sits at 10 points in 21. That's actually not that bad. But he's making $4 million this year.
Yeah.
So
poor Victor Rask, man. He was such a... there was like this time when it was like pretty high hopes for him, but he was underrated coming from the whole Carolina situation. But I remember him. The upside was supposed to be pretty good for him. And, $4 million at the time, well... It was like they were going to pay him for what they believed he could be because he never really put it together in Minnesota that I recall. He never really figured it out.
Yeah, so I mean, it's funny because, you look at his stat lines. He has a career high of 48 points.
How many games played? Is that a full season?
As a Hurricane, 80 games, 48 points, and 15-16.
That's pretty good for his age at the time was what, 20?
Right about then, yeah. That was his. Oh, he was a couple years into his NHL career at that point. I think it was a sophomore year. So yeah, he was 20, 21.
Okay,
right around there.
That's pretty good. You get almost 50 points out of a young guy like that. Like, yeah, that's where that upside kind of came from. And
yeah, whereas in Minnesota, 3 points in 23 games once he was traded, 13 points in 43 games, and then 23 points in 54 last year. So. Goes from, hey, maybe 50-point potential to 30, maybe 40 if we're lucky.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. But, I mean, he was an early second-round pick, 42nd overall in the 2011 draft. Selected immediately after him, Brandon Saad for Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Oof.
Oh, it was that long. Damn, I thought it was not.
2011.
Fuck,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
So, Endo and I, the little preview here, next video that we're working on is covering some guys who were kind of looked at as duds. Maybe not outright busts, but like, okay, you're a useful NHLer, you're not quite what you could be, though, when we selected you early on. And then eventually they turned it around. Looks like Victor Rask won't be that, but there are a couple players from this 2011 draft that could be considered in that category. But that was the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins first overall draft.
Oh, yeah. I can't.
The past 10 years since Nugent-Hopkins, Landeskog and Huberdeau went top 3.
Yeah, I feel like Landeskog is older than them. Why do I feel like Landeskog is so much older than
Because he
Nuge?
was named captain at like 19 years old.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's true.
I do feel like he's like so much older than those guys. That's so weird.
It's the Swedish.
Yeah.
I feel it's just the beard and his style of play too. I always see a guy with his style of play and I'm like, yeah, he's old. He runs around and throws his body like crazy.
God, I'm looking at that second round of 2011. Ooh, the Sharks at 47 took Matt Nieto. The Lightning at 58 took Nikita Kucherov.
Oh, yeah. I remember that because I would always one time I got drafted by the Lightning in my Be a Pro when I was playing on my own. I was like playing with some guy named Kucherov. I'm like, who is this? He's pretty good.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Like AHL too. I was like on their AHL team playing with Nikita Kucherov. Yeah. I had no idea.
God, I love looking back at drafts. I really do. Like, obviously, 58th, like, it's not just San Jose that missed on Kucherov. Every other team did, but it's always just fun to look at. One thing that came out of the Winter Classic was Gary Bettman was interviewed afterwards, And this was an article from Yahoo Sports, and I apologize to Steven Sohogios. I'm not sure, Steven. It's a hell of a name. But essentially the headline, what was asked of Gary Bettman was obviously about the Olympics. And he had mentioned in this article details that Bettman has been asking to move hockey to the Summer Olympics since the 90s. But the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, refuses to do it.
Didn't it used to be in the Summer Olympics?
At one point, it was held in the Summer Olympics. I don't know if it was a one-off or what complications happened to be there. But I look at this, and obviously, it would very much benefit the NHL. Like, ice hockey, the word ice is in the name. It belongs at the Winter Olympics. But if you think about what's best for business and for both sides, I do agree with Gary Bettman and the NHL owners that, yeah, if you could just move ice hockey to the Summer Olympics, there would be very, very few complications, if any, to allowing NHL players to go because it would not disrupt the NHL season. Whereas that's the big talking point now is, well, why isn't the NHL making a better effort to go in 2018? They don't want to stop their season. They can't continue their season when all their marquee players are over in South Korea in 2018. Like, obviously, it gets into the whole argument, but just in general, your thoughts. Like, I hear ice hockey at the Summer Olympics, and while it sounds funny, I would be 100% on board with this. 100%.
One thing quick before we get into this. I just looked it up. So the inaugural event for hockey being at the Summer Olympics was the official event, like their first ever event. It was held in the summer. And I'm like, how the hell does that work? like, I obviously had to read and stuff like that. So it took place in the 1920 Summer Olympics in Antwerp and Belgium. It was also the first time that like organized international hockey was new there, and it was also the first time they had the World Championships there as well. I'm trying to figure out when they and then like the first Winter Olympic Games were then in 1924 in France, and then I believe right here,
I think 28 they would have like immediately switched.
Yeah,
because like,
1924 they kept it there basically. And then they kept it the same year until 1992. Yeah. There you go.
Fair enough. Sin, your thoughts? Ice hockey at the Summer Olympics. I don't think we'll ever see it. I mean, God, if Gary Bettman's sitting here saying that he's been asking for 20 years, almost 30, and it still hasn't happened, I don't think it's going to happen. But
it kind of go. Like, here's the thing. It'd be great for the business of the NHL. Probably kind of great for the business of the Summer Olympics. Here's the thing. The Summer Olympics and the Olympics, the idea of it is more than just what's good for business. It's like this whole... There's like a spirit behind the Olympics. And so how with the spirit of the Summer Games would it be to have a winter sport in there? You know, hockey started as a winter sport. It wasn't, we have rinks, let's cool them down and build some ice. It was, here's some fucking ice, let it, you know.
I just... stick.
So, like, I would love to see it. I would love to have it so we could have NHL players there. I just, like, yeah, you said they've been pushing for 30 years, probably won't happen. And yeah, I don't know if it, you know, to me, it kind of goes against it. I don't know. Like, yeah, cool. We get to see all these awesome dudes playing together. Like, why not make our own fucking event where we can put McKinnon, McDavid, make like, I don't know.
World Cup of Hockey.
Yeah, I was about to say
Bring
World
back
Cup of Hockey.
NHL All-Stars. Remember that when we had an NHL All-Stars? You had the East All-Stars, the West All-Stars, but then there was the NHL All-Stars. Like, all of them. Put them on a
like
fucking
the idea
team.
of like they changed the All-Star game in the late 90s to be Team North America versus Team Europe, didn't they? Or Team North America versus Team World.
Yeah.
Is what it was once upon a time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I also don't hate because... But then you get into the issue of even if you did that at the All-Star game, would Sidney Crosby go to represent Team North America at the All-Star game? I don't think he would. Like, you need it to be about the individual country. Like, no disrespect, the 2016 World Cup was awesome. I have the Canadian jersey from that and the U.S. one on my wall, actually, right behind me right now.
They were beautiful.
But nobody gave a shit about Team Some of Europe and Team Under 23. But it was awesome. But like, no one's gonna really give a shit about that in a way. I mean, like, no doubt, like the U.S. Canadian final was heated, which was great. But yeah, I mean, I just hope they find some solution, because at the end of the day, we all know what we all want. We want to see the best players in the world playing at the best level against one another all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
The sooner we get back to that, the better.
If there's one thing I want to say, though, that I disagree with what you say about the young team. That team was the greatest hockey that I've seen. Completely. Like, just going out, shot out the dark. Did you see McKinnon deke the crap out of Freddie? Oh my God! His jockstrap's still on top there. His jockstrap is still at the roof of Air Canada Center. That's right, I said it. It's still up there. That was beautiful.
I'm not saying it wasn't awesome. I love that tournament as much as the next guy, but in terms of like how much it meant, like not even in the same ballpark as the Olympics.
I thought it was awesome. That's the part that I remember the most is Team North America. Is all those young guns being the underdogs and giving people a run for their money. Seeing McDavid playing with Matthews, that was great.
Again, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I loved it, but I'm only talking about the scale. Like, if they want to bring that back, I'm cool with it, because it was great. And do you think about right now, who would be on that under 23 team together?
That was a once in a
Trevor
lifetime.
Zegras.
Yeah.
Lucas Raymond. Well, no, I'm thinking if you bring it back now and have that under 23 team.
But then they're going to be
William
playing
Eklund,
against fucking McDavid and Matthews together. Like, well, not maybe together, but they'd be playing against McDavid, McKinnon, Crosby. Like, it's a little less fair. A big reason the North American team did so well is because they did have Matthews and McDavid. Like,
fair.
You had the best player in the world, and then probably the second best goal scorer.
I got to look up who was on Team North America. Let me look at this in full. Shout out to Team Canada that was coached by Mike Babcock. What a guy.
Bab socks.
He just sat back there. He's like, you guys are all good players. Go play.
Yo, just go out there.
So Team North America. In goal, John Gibson, Connor Hellebuck, Matt Murray. Jesus.
Wait, Gibson was young enough for that? Damn.
Yeah, he was 20. He was 23.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're like, hey, you, get on there. Get on the bus.
The defense, Ekblad, Gostisbehere, Seth Jones, Ryan Murray, Colton Parayko, Morgan Riley, Jacob Trouba.
X Factor Seth Jones.
Pretty sick. Pretty decent, though.
And then the forwards, Couturier, Drouin, Eichel, Goodrow, Larkin, McKinnon, Matthews, McDavid, JT Miller, Nugent Hopkins. Brandon Saad was on the under-23 team. Mark Scheifele and Vincent Trocheck.
That is a solid squad right there. That's a very good squad. I don't think you could feel the squad now with that same talent level.
Yeah, but it's easy to look back in retrospect because so many of those players did turn out to be great. But at the time, I feel like they were all pretty solid at the time. Like, how many 23 and under players could we? We'd have to do that for another one. We'd have to all come up with a fucking list for that one. But
yeah, that's what I was just trying to research now. Yeah. I'm like, on NHL.com, can I sort by how old people are? Well, I actually can in reverse. Like, the youngest player in the league right now is Cole Sillinger. Like Cole Sillinger, Mason McTavish, Eklund, Drysdale, Lucas Raymond, Alex Holtz, Tim Stützle, Lafreniere, Dawson Mercer.
Yeah, there's enough of them, but do they make the same? It's hard to say because it's easy to look back in retrospect and say those names, and where they are now, you're like, oh, fuck. But, like, it's hard to say, would this team be good? You just got to put them on the ice.
Yeah.
There you go. Last thing I wanted to talk about today, boys. For some reason, over the past week, the entire argument has resurfaced. The Seattle Kraken and how they believed in analytics and it failed them. Analytics suck. I don't know how this conversation has come back up again. My take on this, as someone who said the Seattle Kraken would win the Pacific Division this year. The Seattle Kraken, like, number one, this is a two-part conversation, right? And let's start off with talking about the draft and the narrative that the Seattle Kraken drafted with an analytics-based approach. Bullshit. Absolutely not what happened. Complete revisionist history. Let's go through these picks. First and foremost, from the Anaheim Ducks, they took Hayden Fleury. That's fine. You weren't going to take Ryan Getzlaf. You probably should have taken Danton Heinen. with how well he's doing on Pittsburgh. That one's fine. Tyler Pitlick from Arizona, only to immediately flip him to Calgary. Was that an analytics-based pick? Not saying they had many great options, but they did have a certain Michael Bunting that they could have taken. I think that would have been the analytics-based approach.
No, he's mine. Bunting's mine. You're not taking him. He's mine.
From the Boston Bruins, they took defenseman Jeremy Lauzon. Decent enough pick. I mean, you could have gone for Taylor Hall, who didn't have a contract. Andre Kasha, who was kind of a toss-up at the time. Like, that's not a bad pick off of who they could have gotten. Mike Riley was without contract, too. From the Buffalo Sabres, they took defenseman Will Borgen. Was that really an analytics-based pick? Will Borgen, with barely any NHL experience, when Jake McCabe was available, who was a complete analytical darling, currently now with the Chicago Blackhawks. You could have taken Jeff Skinner. Kyle Okposo isn't too bad, depending on what metrics you look at. That wasn't exactly an analytics-based pick. You know where I'm going with this. I still want to go through them, though. Calgary, they took Mark Giordano. I mean, that's who you were going to take from Calgary. Yeah. I mean, you weren't... Like, maybe you could have taken Sheelington, but you don't know that he was going to be as good for them as he's been for Calgary this year. Carolina, they took Morgan Geekie. Also available, Nino Niederreiter, Jake Bean, Dougie Hamilton, sans contract, but still could have... Let's be honest. Would you rather have Morgan Geekie?
No.
Would you rather have Morgan Geekie or the signing rights to Dougie Hamilton and then that period of time to be able to say to Dougie, what do you want? Doesn't mean it would work, but Morgan Geekie, the analytical approach, I don't know about that, Chief. Chicago, they took John Quenneville. John Quenneville.
The guy who's never, ever, been above the fourth line?
John Quenneville doesn't even fucking play for Seattle. He's on a PTO with the ZSC Lions. Although I'll check that on Elite Prospects to see.
Yeah, if that's the analytical approach, your analytics
he's on the ZSC Lions right now.
How's he doing over there, though?
Let's find out really quickly.
Speaking German.
I will say, other players they could have taken. Maybe Brett Connolly gets paid a lot. At least Brett Connolly could fucking play for you. Calvin DeHaan, injury concerns, but analytical darling for sure. Shit, take Nikita Zadorov. At least he can play for you, but he's not good. Quenneville has 29 points in 32 games in Switzerland. So good for him.
Yeah.
From the Colorado Avalanche, they took Jonas Donskoy. I won't disagree with that. That's who you were going to take. I mean, Landeskog was technically available. You probably weren't going to be able to take him and then actually get him to sign. Right. You could have tried. So Donskoy, probably the analytical pick. You're telling me that taking Gavin Bayreuther from the Columbus Blue Jackets, not signing him, and letting him go back to Columbus was the analytical approach? Over risking it with Max Domi? Over taking Dean Kukin on defense? I've only gone through half of the teams, and we've had, what, 3? Not even half the teams, but the teams we've gone through so far, a quarter of the teams, half or a third even. We've had, 3 examples of me being like, yeah, it was probably the best pick from an all-around perspective and an analytical perspective.
They completely bungled it. I don't know where people are getting this idea that they built it through analytics.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you get into part 2 of this conversation, which is, well, people like me and other people that follow analytics still looked at this roster and said, we could see them doing well. It's not guaranteed, but we could see them doing well. Well, you were wrong and analytics were wrong. You look at this team on paper, though, and they're not that bad. They're not.
Yeah, they made good signings.
They are bad, but on paper, they should be better. There's a lot of teams like that in the NHL. Montreal, they're not that bad on paper. They're shit. It happens. But again, you look at this defense. Alexiak, Giordano, Adam Larson, Carson Soucy, Hayden Fleury, Will Borgen, because of injuries Jeremy Lauzon's injured. Vince Dunn is currently out. I mean, Vince Dunn's obviously a big piece of that defense. You look at that defense, you say, oh shit, that's not that bad. It's pretty good, actually. And then you look, they bring in Philip Grubauer and Chris Driedger. And that's exactly what the majority of us said on the show and what the majority of what everybody said. If their defense and goaltending is on point and they can be scrappy and get some goals, that's probably how they'd find success.
Yeah.
They have not been scrappy in finding goals. Happens. Their defense hasn't been that tough to beat. Boy, I wonder why. You hired Dave Hackstall as your coach. Trusted hockey man.
Yeah.
And then their goaltending, as we've talked about all season long, Chris Driedger, who was going to be the starter, .892 in 9 games. Philip Grubauer, the $5.9 million man, .882 in 25 games.
Rough.
I don't see how this turned into... Well, I do, because people are ridiculous. This is not an analytics failed. See, this is why you can't trust analytics. Like, the analytics tell you that your starting goalie having an .882 save percentage means you're going to suck. That's what it would tell you. Just nobody thought Grubauer would be this bad.
Yeah. And I'm surprised by the idea that he somehow got carried by that Colorado team. I mean, they were a great team, but there were times where he was making some solid saves and looked good. And maybe it's just the confidence and playing in front of that or behind that team. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Say what you want about the team he was playing behind, but how many goalies would drop this badly?
Martin Jones.
Last year in Colorado, he had a .922. Martin Jones. There you go.
He did it gradually, though, to be fair. So
he has an .882 this season so far.
That's 0.3.
You're telling me Seattle's that much worse than Colorado?
Yeah.
I don't think so, man.
No.
That's the goaltending not being up to snuff, and maybe I don't know. Could it be slightly on the analytics? Sure, but to sit there and say, well, the coaching is questionable to begin with heading into this, the goaltending has completely fallen apart, and their depth scoring hasn't been great, which we all identified as their weakest part of their team was the forward core. I don't understand how that came back into the topic of conversation here. And I think that was one of the main things we talked about with Seattle. We were saying, hey, yeah, they could make the playoffs. They could also be trash. Maybe not this bad. Maybe not, let's see where they are on point percentage right now. Maybe not the 4th worst team in the NHL off a point percentage right now. Like, who had them below Buffalo through 33 games?
Not me.
Nobody.
Nope.
Nobody. I don't care how much you're like, no, the analytics are bullshit. I think they're going to be bad. You didn't have them as worse than Buffalo. You certainly didn't have Montreal in 31st. Montreal's in 31st after making it to the Cup final. Nobody had that. It's not an analytics thing. It's a hockey's fucking weird and crazy shit can happen thing. The Islanders can be in 26th. How are they in 26th? They've gone to conference finals. They're in 26th. So, I don't know. Like I said, it's a two-parter. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on this, but I'm already sick of the Seattle discourse over trying to twist it into, see, this is why analytics are bad.
Yeah. It was one thing that I love is my reply to your tweet. We were talking about this the other day. Was like Seattle looked at Hackstall and was like, I can fix him. He's perfect. I can fix him. Like, this isn't like a romantic comedy. This is like your franchise. And this is something that they're going to have to live with and realize, like, are we going to stick with this guy and ride it out? Or are we going to have to find a better guy for a job? And God forbid they get another old man, member of the old boys club to go in and fill his spot.
Isn't it interesting that Dave Hackstall went back and forth, make the playoffs, miss the playoff, make the playoffs, and then get fired? Isn't it interesting that a lot of people are like, oh, well, Dave Hackstall was fired because the goaltending wasn't up to snuff? Why wasn't the goaltending up to stuff when Dave Hackstall was the coach in Philly? Was it the goalies? Now it's happening again in Seattle. Wonder what that could be. Yeah. Pure coincidence, I'm sure. The Seattle conversation's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Every year we sit here and we look at people and we're like, oh, okay, yep, they're going to be good, they're going to be bad. And guess what? Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Because crazy shit happens. The end. That's called sports. It's called sports. Sports. Boys, thank you for letting me rant. I do appreciate it. I've been waiting to rant about that over the past couple of days. I almost made it an own separate YouTube video on it. You know what's funny though is I am looking at this now, and shout to JFresh who put out an article about this, and here's a quote from it: "The Kraken have an .874 save percentage as a team, which is dead last in the NHL, and is on track to be the lowest in 25 years since the 1996 San Jose Sharks." They have an extra goal conceded on every 32 shots compared to the league average.
That was when we didn't even have a goaltender. We had Wade Flaherty and
well, let's see, 1996 San Jose Sharks.
Yet. Maybe we had Kelly Rudy. I don't fucking remember.
Definitely gotta look this up. So I don't know if he's talking 95, 96 or 96, 97. Probably, but in 95, 96. Oh my God, it has to be 95, 96.
Yeah,
Holy
probably.
shit. Whoo! All right, so 95-96, the Sharks had 46 games out of Chris Terreri.
Yeah, I remember. I remember Chris Terreri.
Noted Martin Brodeur backup.
Yeah.
Terreri had the best save percentage on the team at an .883. Not the best stat in the world. Some people, call it out. But his goals saved above expected. Think about how that's worded. His goals saved above average, I should say. Goals saved above average for Chris Terreri. Negative 20.7.
Oof.
Wow. Wow.
The legendary Latvian Arturs Irbe. He had 22 games played. Had an .860 save percentage. Goals saved above average. Negative 23.3.
Yeesh.
And Wade Flaherty, who's been called out, 24 games, .866 save percentage, and a negative 22 goals saved above average, for a grand total of a team save percentage of .872,
woof,
a goals against average of 4.21, and a goal saved above average of negative 71.2.
See, this is how expansion drafts used to go. You were expected to be this for a few years.
You are comparing... Exactly. You fucking nailed it. That's how an expansion draft is expected to go. Their goaltending is as bad as the somewhat still new San Jose Sharks goaltending was in '95. But no, analytics failed. Nobody thought Grubauer and Dreger, and Joey Decord, I think for a game or two, would be as bad as this group. It's unfathomable that they are this bad. But they are. They also had a fourth goalie named Jeff Sargent.
Yes!
SAR.
I remember him from NHL 98. He backed up Kelly Rudy in that game or some shit.
He played 4 games and had an endo-approved .839 save percentage.
Hey, that's me, baby.
French goaltender. Let's go.
Ooh. Oh, God. So, yeah. A lot of different problems for the Seattle Kraken. We all question the draft, and rightfully so. They definitely did not approach the draft from an analytic perspective. No. And that's also a part of, hey, guess what? NHL GMs got a little bit smarter because no one wanted to get roasted like they did because of Vegas. Oh, nobody wanted that again. And then you still look at the team and it's like, okay, well, hey, defense isn't that bad. They signed Grubauer. Could be good. And then Grubauer's shit because they also have a shit coach. Yeah. And Grubauer's shit.
And it's almost like, it's Ron Francis, old hockey guy, hires trusted hockey guy coach. And you really think they're going to take this huge analytical approach? The teams that are taking the big analytical approach don't have those really old hockey guys that much. I mean, some of them are able to accept analytics, but so many of them don't. Fortunately, the Sharks with, Doug Wilson Jr. are starting to take that approach with their drafting. Lo and fucking behold, they've had 2 good drafts. instead of Mirko Muellering the first round.
All right, we get to end today's episode with looking at that particular draft because I have to. It's my favorite thing to do. Mirko Mueller was selected 18th overall in the 2013 draft.
Yeah.
In fairness, that 2013 draft was shit, though.
It was, but still,
Yeah.
there was.
So 18 was Mirko Mueller, Kirby Reichel, and then Anthony Mantha. That hurts a little bit. Freddie Gauthier, Emile Poirier, Andre Burakovsky. But the next defenseman taken after Mirko Mueller
I know.
was 8 picks later. Shea Theodore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Fun times. Fun times. Boys, it's been a fun show. We will be back again this Friday. Again, Tuesdays and Fridays from now on, due to Sin and I's obligations with NHL Gamer, the premier NHL 22 based esports league. Of course, you are going to see the best of the best go head to head. Sin and I will be there every step of the way with their elite division. It's our 4th or 5th season already.
Yeah.
Covering this. We've been doing it for a while now. It's nuts.
This is going to be our, well, it's like year-wise, this is like our 3rd year, but like season-wise, yeah, I think it's like our 5th season because it's going to be technically the 13th. I think we started around 9 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. So
Yeah.
4th, but we also did
It's a good time.
North America stuff in there when we did that a couple times. That's how we started,
Yeah.
actually. It was started on North America. And then
And then we decided to
crazy.
delve into the land of Finnish and Swedish names, and we've never looked back.
Yeah.
You'll be able to find us every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/NHL Gamer. And of course, you can catch the boys everywhere. Endo Mills, Endo, what's going on with your streaming? What do you have to plug to start 2022?
So I was supposed to record a video a few days ago about because I'm trying to make YouTube content. I'm trying to diversify my stuff. Don't throw all your eggs in one basket. Get that revenue coming in somehow. And I put it off for a little bit. I've been working on some stuff for Tougie and for other content creators. Another disclaimer right now for this episode. I'm sorry if my microphone sounds bad.
You mentioned it. If you didn't fucking mention it, no one would be the wiser.
Listen, because I know someone in the fucking comments is gonna mention it, and I'm gonna be pissed off about it. I had Alex Don, good friend of the show, come to me and DM's like, "Hey, listen, do you need help? Because like, is your mic like we can fix this? Don't worry, I can help. I got a guy who can help you out." I'm like, "It's okay. I think I figured it out." And then this fucking my Go XLR Mini, because a few months ago I was an idiot and I had a power hour with Kev. And like I met a bunch of cool people in that power hour, whatever. But I spilled beer in my power in this, and so I couldn't use the faders for a bit. Right?
This is the best plug.
Yeah, I couldn't use the faders, so I could only use the digits, and now it just stopped working altogether. So I had to like go over to Polina and be like, "Hey, listen, I know I gave you my wave mic, but I need that for the podcast at least." She's like, "Yeah, I don't even use it. Take it. Go ahead." And now we're here. And I'm messing around. Thank God, Elgato, bless your heart, Elgato, for adding VST plugins so I can actually adjust stuff on the fly and have things be better. But moral of the story: don't spill beer in your stuff. That was a very Irish story, but like that's me. You can find me at Endo Mills on all social medias, everywhere you can find me: Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, your closet. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Sim, what about you?
Yeah. I don't have a story, but you can find me on YouTube at Sin FTW Productions, Sin for the Win Productions, where I am now introducing a whole new realm of content to my channel. So come check it out and watch me be insanely passionate and happy as I play nerdy ass games and don't suffer through NHL, only NHL. I still play NHL, still got franchise modes pumping out, but I have expanded. And follow me on Twitter for the occasional funny tweet at SinFTWProd.
The occasional live tweeting of Sharks.
Yeah, I've tried to lay off the live tweeting. I feel like it's very spammy. I probably get pushed down the algorithm, and it's a little ragey sometimes because, well, the Sharks.
There you go. Of course, I'm everywhere. Tougie24. Make sure to check out everything. Thank you all very much for listening. We will see you this Friday. Again, code Tougie at manscaped.com. 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Go get the tools to take care of your tool, you bunch of tools. Our favorite tools.
Your hands,
Love
feet,
you.
and your Schmeat.